Welcome. We have been talking about right? Being different things. The first week we talked about being still. Pastor Paul kicked it off. Being still before the Lord is about surrendering to God. And when we surrender our will to His, He can do the impossible. The next week, Pastor Paul talked about being patient, right? Be patient. We wait patiently for God to fulfill His promises in our lives. We wait patiently not only for the Lord's coming, but we wait patiently for His work in the here and now. We wait for Him to work in us, through us, and around us. The third week we talked about be filled, right? We will be filled by what we consume in our bodies, through our eyes, deep down in our spirits. More than anything else, may we be filled with the Spirit. May we be filled with His fruit in our lives. And may we be full of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. May we walk by the Spirit, be led by the Spirit, live by the Spirit, and keep in step with God's Spirit. And last week we talked about being content, right? Be content. We're just passing by on this earth. It's not our eternal home. We're not always going to be here. And we can't take any of our possessions with us. But our souls will go on. Therefore, in all of our pursuits, we should pursue godliness with contentment. And that's where true gains are realized. And my favorite quote last week was when Pastor Paul said, as it relates to possessions and the pursuit of wealth, the Lord is not bothered by us having stuff, but He is bothered by stuff having us. God is bothered by stuff having us. So this week I want to talk about be present, right? Being present. I'm going to defer to Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. You know, I think about being present, and I see it in a lot of other things. How about this? Growing up, I enjoyed reading a lot. I was a big nerd. I was so much of a reading nerd that I would find a book series, and then I would get a soundtrack to listen to it while I read the book. Yeah, you can laugh. It's fine. It's fine. Like for instance, when I read Lord of the Rings, because that's a lot of reading. I chose Carmina Burana. If you don't know, it's a great piece of music, and it's all like hardcore intense, and you're like, yeah, orcs and dragons and stuff. And so, yeah, I had a good time. And I see a lot in media, and a lot of the things I read. Things that are like, oh man, that makes sense, or oh, that totally hits home. And then realizing much, much later that those truths were already in Scripture. Those truths were already there for me to discover or to rediscover in some cases. And today I want to talk about being present. You know, I think we can all relate to the fact that sometimes it's hard to be present in a moment. To be present in the here and now. To be present as we're interacting with other people. And why is that? I think a lot of times we as human beings get consumed in three different ways. One of them is being consumed and not being present because of the past. Now in this message, I'm not trying to say that we should rug sweep any of the difficulties that we have gone through. To say, oh, you need to get over it. It's been a month already. Oh, you just need to deal with it. Because a lot of times we have hurt, we have pain, we have struggles, we've had strife in our lives, and a lot of times that can consume us right now that we cannot be present. And it's not always negative things. It's always like, you know what, remember the good old days? Oh, the good old days. When cigarette commercials were done by doctors. The good old days. You remember those. I think a lot of times the good old days for me were just the days I didn't have any responsibilities. I could wake up whenever I wanted, right? My biggest responsibility was waking up in time to put a wet rag on my hair to mat it down because I had a bowl cut. And to go to school. Get there on time. Whether it was going to Fruitvale or going to Booklift or going to Central, that was my biggest responsibility, right? Just going to these places. As I got older, the responsibility started to increase, right? When in high school, oh my gosh, I hope I graduate. In 1996, that's when I finished. And thinking about what I'm going to do after that, right? Like what's going to happen after I finish high school and where am I going to go and getting consumed with all of that. And I think about that time in the past when things were good. No responsibility. I just had to wake up and eat. I think sometimes that does consume us in the now, that we can't be present right now. Thinking about those hurts, thinking about, oh man, what if? What would have happened? A lot of times, how about this? I'll just give you an example. Recently I was thinking about this. I talked with Pastor Paul about it. Back in 2012, year of our Lord, I read an article about a new thing, a cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. How many guys, how about this? How many of you don't know what Bitcoin is? And that's okay if you don't. Okay, cool. It's fake money that doesn't exist that you can buy. How about that? And they use cryptology to be able to get encryption codes and computers mine it, but it doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not tied to any central bank. It's great because it doesn't exist, but it's worth money. Go figure. I remember reading an article where there were actual restaurants and places in New York where you could use Bitcoin to purchase stuff, right? Like cups of coffee or a slice of pizza. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And at the time, again, 2012, I had 2 kids at that point and married and working a nonprofit, and we were a single income family, so there wasn't a lot of money to go around. I think about the time and I was like, you know what, if I had just maybe just throw $150 at Bitcoin, just for the heck of it, in 2012. Now, the correct move was to not do it, right? I didn't have money to throw around. But if I had, if I remember correctly, I think I'd have right now, because of buying the Bitcoin at the price it was at that time, a little over $3 million from that $150. That's a crazy what if. It's a crazy what if. But here's the reality of it. If I had that to fall back on, I probably wouldn't have gone through a lot of the struggles and persevered through things because I had that to fall back on. I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be experiencing life the way that I am now. I actually probably wouldn't be being healed from past hurts as I am right now if that had happened. But man, it's so easy to say, what if? And look at the past and not be present now. I think about the future, right? And the future can consume us as well. We think about, oh man, what's going to happen? Am I going to be able to pay this bill? What's going to happen with this? Where am I going to get this from? And you think about, you get consumed with what's going to happen in the future. Oh, I got to organize. I got to get this in my calendar. You're right. I got to send out that email. I got to make sure I text that person. And we're going. And we get consumed with the future. I have a daughter in college right now. I have a sophomore in college, a sophomore in high school, and a 4th grader, because we like to spread it out a little bit. And I'm just going to say, I worry about the future. I worry about them. My daughter's, Lord willing, creek don't rise. My oldest is going to graduate in 2 years, or 2.5 years. Is she going to be able to find a job? Is her degree going to be the right degree for what she finds to do? Is it going to be meaningful work? Not just, hey, it doesn't have to be like, I am doing God's, But do you like what you do, right? Is she going to like what she does? Is she going to be paid well enough to be able to live outside of my house? See, things like that. Let's be real. Let's be real. Is she going to be able to pursue her dreams the way she can based off of graduating from college? I think about my middle daughter, right? And all the things she gets to go through, and I'm like, okay, she's going to graduate soon in 2 years. And, again, thankfully, I'll have one graduating from the high school at the same time as graduating from college. And that's double the graduation parties. I'm thinking about that already. And I'm thinking about, man, where is she going to go to school? Like, what does she want to do? And I'll be honest, is she going to major in something dumb? I don't think she will. But that's just where my brain goes, right? Oh, is she gonna major in like basket weaving or something? And it's going to be useless. She's got a good head on her shoulders, so I don't think that's going to happen, but that's just where my brain goes, right? It's worry. I think about my son and the things that he deals with, right? Being a boy in a society that doesn't really like active boys, right? Like he gets up, he moves around, he's super smart. What middle school is he going to, right? Like right now we have him at a school, and the next school, the feeder school from that elementary school isn't in our, whatever it is, the district, the area. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Don't look at me like that, okay? It hurts my feelings. But the feeder school is like, what middle school do we send him to? Right? Is it the closer one? It's like these are the things that I think about. Is he going to be happy when he graduates high school? Are my kids going to feel fulfilled and passionate about something? And it doesn't have to be about their work. Are they just passionate about something? Who are they going to marry? Oh my God. Oh, okay. Are they going to be a big dummy? Oh, I hope not. And I don't mean intelligence. I mean just like, dude, what were you thinking? Oh, man, but I love your daughter. All right. You might be living off of love, but it's not paying the bills. I think about that, right? Like my kids having an awesome spouse, having an awesome relationship, having a meaningful, deeply connected partnership where not that they get along perfectly, they're going to have arguments, but it's good and it's moving forward. Are they kind? Are they community minded? Do they think about others? Are they willing to work through struggles? Like, are they willing to fight in the right way? These are the things I think about, not just about my kids, but also who they're going to marry, who they're going to be with. Man, tomorrow, ugh. And all those things can distract from being present. Being present. Being present. So we have the past that can, the good old days. Oh man, that horrible thing that happened, I just can't get over it. And dude, that's understandable. I'm not trying to rug sweep that, but that distracts from being present right now. And I think about the future, right? All the things that we can, struggle with what's going to happen. Where's this going to go? What's going, what I mean? I got to start worrying about this, got to start worrying about that. What's the future going to hold? And then all of a sudden we come to the present and there's things that consume us now. Things that take from our attention to right now. I think one of the biggest ones is technology. Yes. One of the most disheartening things when I'm at like an event or something where just something cool is happening, right? Just something awesome. Just imagine something awesome happening and a group of people around watching it. And when I see this, how awesome is it to consume something through a 5-inch screen? This is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. And it's not just phones, it's technology in general. Look, before phones, it was books, newspapers, the radio, the television. We've gotten better and better at being distracted. How about that? We've gotten better and better at being distracted from being right now. Right? You have the strain of the day, the struggle of the day. You had a hard time at work. Man, if I see her face one more time. What happened with that guy? I don't know. I hate his face. I didn't even talk to him. Isn't he your boss? Yeah. And you get home, right, and you sit down, or you have all the things to think about, and you're still not being focused on being in the moment, and all of a sudden it's just like, I just need to enter in whatever distraction. Some distractions are more destructive than others. It's kind of weird sometimes where I'll be looking at my phone something, and I'll look up, and all of us are on our phones. Again, look, this isn't an indictment on any of us. This isn't to say like, oh, if you guys would just get it together. No, it's us. We get distracted. And it's a hard thing to be in the now, to be present. To shut off our mind from the past, to shut off our worry about the future, to shut off our distractions from right now, and to be present and to truly engage with community, engage with people, engage with our God. To be present. I think theologically, I think it's easy for us to think about the past and the future and hard to think about the present. Like when I look at the Bible, right? In the Genesis account, we have the tree of life in the beginning of everything, right? It's awesome, it's great. And then, those turkeys, Adam and Eve, they screwed it up for the rest of us. They didn't eat that apple and we could have lived forever. Oh, that would have been awesome. We have the tree of life at the beginning. And then we have in the end, right, whether, you're looking at Revelations. At the end of time, right, we have the tree of life in heaven that comes down to earth, and you smell its leaves, and it's got healing, restorative powers, and you eat it, you live forever. Awesome. That sounds great. But what about now? Well, there is a tree of life for right now. There is a tree of life that applies to being present now. One that connects the tree of life in the past, and the one that connects the tree of life in eternity future. And that tree is the cross. The price that Jesus paid, and he died so that we could have life through that tree. And that connects the both. We even have rituals that we do today, right? We have communion. We have this thing where we stand or sit together, and we have a wafer and we have juice, and depending on your denomination or your sect of Christianity, it's leaded or unleaded juice, right? We have this thing where we're proclaiming the Lord's death in the past. We're thinking of the future, his returning, and we're all celebrating it together right now. And it involves all of our senses. It's past, present, and future. We can hold it. We can smell the juice. We can feel the wafer or the cracker or the bread, whatever we're using. We can taste it. And whether it's the sweetness or the crunch and all those things, we can feel it. We can taste the juice and the sweetness and the bitterness of it. And it's all interacting all at the same time. And it allows us to interact with God right now, together. Being present right now. In the Old Testament, in Ecclesiastes 5, 18 through 20, I'm going to be reading from the Message. Side note, there's obviously, the Bible was not written in English. And so there's transliteration and translations, right? Transliteration means it's word for word exact, but some of the meaning can be kind of hard to understand because it's literally what they're saying, right? A rolling stone gathers no moss. What does that even mean? Well, if you're moving forward, you don't get green stuff growing on you. I don't know. But that's an idiom in English, right? That's a saying we have. But then all of a sudden, if we try to translate that into Spanish, modern Spanish, like, what does that even mean? I don't know. They're saying in Spanish, so you say, okay, you say it, and then you're like, what does that mean in English? It's like, it doesn't really make sense. But, it kind of means this. We even have there's sayings even just in other cultures that speak English, right? You coming in here, sliding in on a shrimp sandwich, thinking you own the joint. What? That's an actual saying, a modern saying, sliding in on a shrimp sandwich. Okay, you're privileged, bro. Even now, just culture, using English, right? So you have transliteration. That's like your New King James, your NASB, those types of, those translations. And then you have loose translations where it's more, they're trying to get to the idiom, what the meaning behind it is. And you have Ecclesiastes 5, 18 through 20. In the Message, this is where this is coming from. It says, after looking at the way things are on this earth, here's what I've decided is the best way to live. Take care of yourself. Have a good time. And make the most of whatever job you have for as long as God gives you life. And that's about it. That's the human lot. Yes, we should make the most of what God gives, both the bounty and the capacity to enjoy it. Accepting what's given and delighting in the work. It's God's gift. God deals out joy in the present, the now. It's useless to brood over how long we might live. Jesus said in Matthew 6, verse 34 in the NIV, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Pastor Paul said a few weeks ago in Ephesians chapter 5, 15 and 16, in the NIV again, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity. We cannot make the most of every opportunity if we're not focusing on right now. Things pass us by. How many of you have seen Ferris Bueller? Come on, you might miss it. Things pass us by if we're not present right now. Looking at the past and worrying about it, or dwelling on it, looking to the future and worrying about it. Not being present right now. Making the most of every opportunity. Think how much more we would enjoy life. Think about how much more we would enjoy our moments if we thought about, what if this is the last one? What if this is the last time? When I was preparing this yesterday, I was tearing up because this really got me. Because here's the deal, I have not arrived, I'm not a professional Christian, I'm just a human being that is trying to walk in this direction, and I happen to be an associate pastor. But I thought about this yesterday. What would it be like if I knew this is the last time I taste my mom's green chili? What if it's the last breakfast I have with her? And I think about, would I try to remember what the taste of it would be like, right? Like the heat of the green chili, the sweetness of the pork, the saltiness of the dish. But the fact that we usually have hash browns with that, so like the crunchiness and the softness of the potato. The saltiness there and just how much it's enhanced. And the feeling of the tortillas warm in my hand as I tear it to crack into the egg that I've crushed up and like moved around and swirled. It's like in a big pile, and the taste of everything, right? The taste of the white of the egg and the yolk and of the green chili together and the potato and the cheese. And using the tortilla like a fork and that feeling of it, the feeling of it in my hand and scooping that into my mouth and just enjoying the flavor and the sounds and the feeling in the kitchen as we're eating and seeing the pots that are still warm and interacting with everybody in the room and just remembering because I know that's the last time I'm going to taste my mom's green chili. How much more should we savor those moments, our moments, being present right now? Getting a hug from a loved one, the strength of their embrace, their arms wrapped around us. The smell of their cologne or their perfume, the feeling of our cheek on their shoulder. And the connection that happens where you're embraced with somebody you care about, the love that's passing between, it's unsaid, but it's felt, the emotion, the spiritualness of it, right? The deep connection there, and just holding that embrace and experiencing that and just going, man, I love you, and you feeling it the same way, and you don't even have to say words. How much more poignant if we enjoyed that moment and thought about what if this is the last one, and trying to etch it into our mind. And how tragic if we have to say, I would have tried to remember it more. I would have tried to remember it more if I knew it was going to be the last one. If I knew it was going to be the last time. How much more meaningful would our moments be? How much more meaningful will our interactions be? And not to get creepy with it, and not just like, why are you always crying when we hug? Take it easy. I'm not saying we should fall apart 24/7. But it being meaningful, right? Because if we're allowing ourselves to do that, we're then allowing ourselves to have the courage to be vulnerable in that moment too. That we can be hurt. Oh, shut up, Josh. To be deeply connected to another person, to that time, to that experience. And let's be honest, to be deeply connected to our God. Thinking about a smile and a laugh. A hard laugh. A hard laugh that makes your stomach hurt, that makes you cry because you can't breathe. That makes you fall on the ground and almost like you could crawl away from the laughter because it's just too much. And enjoying that moment. We rob ourselves of these precious mundane things. Seeing my kids laugh. Seeing them smile. Hearing my girls and my boys sing and watching them play music. Watching my son work on the piano to try to figure out a new song. Seeing my wife thinking about something intently and me looking at her and just going, I cannot believe she said yes. And just seeing her face there, and I can see her thinking, even in my mind right now, and how she will pull her mouth a little bit to the side and bite the inside of her left lip. Seeing my dad mow the lawn. Being one of the hardest workers I've ever known. Watching my mom enjoy the company of her sisters and just laughing and hanging out and just talking. I'm not looking over there. They're crying. I'm not crying. And my God, watching my family laugh. And laugh hard, watching Talia be silly, watching Lana cry laughing because I said a weird word. And a word, but just not used in everyday language. Seeing my son just lose it and cackle over something silly. Me saying something dumb and watching my wife or my parents laugh, my brother. Watching people I care about be passionate about something, right? Being truly into something and their face lighting up, right? And just them talking about it, whatever it is, it doesn't even matter. Video games, a book, playing instruments, who cares? Being passionate about something and seeing that in them and just enjoying that moment with them. Watching somebody come alive. Because if we can do that in our moments, right, interacting with others, if we can do that, how much more special is it when we choose to pause and do that with God as well? When we can just take a moment, just like, going about our day, responding to emails, responding to phone calls, having to do this project or that thing or this thing or that thing or that, clean this, clean that, whatever, and just be able to pause and just say, God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am blessed more than I should be. You've given me more than I ever deserve. Thank you. And taking that moment, and that's just my stuff. What about your stuff, right? The things that are meaningful to you, the people that you care about, the things that you enjoy. My goal is one day, this isn't a I have a dream thing, take it easy, right? But my dream is that one day, and I'm stealing this dream from my wife, my dream is that one day for one of our back-to-school events that we have a drum line in here and they're just going, they're just going off just to celebrate kids going back to school. I think that would be sick. And enjoying that moment. Enjoying the moments when we're here and we're worshiping together collectively. We're singing a song and worshiping God together. That's amazing. And giving that gift of pausing. Giving ourselves the permission to pause. Pausing's a big deal. That's new technology, right? When we were watching TV, you'd have to run to the bathroom during the commercial break and hope you didn't miss anything. Now you can pause anything. You can log into whatever and just, okay, hold on, I'll just save that for tomorrow. I got something to do. We can pause. Pausing is dramatic. Pausing a meal, right? Pausing in the middle of a song. Just how crazy it would be if all of a sudden in the middle of one of the songs, the worship team just stopped and the music just cut off. Pausing is dramatic. And if we give ourselves the permission to pause, how much more dramatic is it for us? Like for me, my brain can be very scattered. It just is. And I've learned to live with it and work around it. But the reality is if my wife has talked to me and I know, hey, dummy, you need to focus. I got to pause the TV. I got to give attention. How much more do we as a group need to pause and interact, to pause and to connect, to pause and to be present? Because in giving that gift of pause, we allow ourselves to truly interact, again, with God and with others. To reflect, to give that gift of being present to others. And in giving that gift of being present, think about it. When somebody is going through a family crisis, right? When somebody is going through a struggle, there's sometimes, let's be honest, there's things we can't do. Let's go to the hospital. I'm not a doctor. What am I going to do? That's what goes through my head. That's the first thing that goes through the head. Second thing is, don't be a jerk, dude. They just want to be around you. They just want support. Those are the two thoughts that go into my brain. I'm not a doctor. What am I going to do? I'm not a nurse. And the second one was like, don't be a jerk. Because when somebody's going through something, that gift of presence is more important than a present we can give. Here's $100, right? How much more just being there with them to just sit. You don't have to have the answers, just to connect in that moment. To be present. To be present. We can look at the life of Jesus and we can see all throughout the Gospels that he is present in every single moment. I think of when he's walking through a crowd and people are just bunched up against him. They're just trying to get a piece of him. Just like, oh my gosh, there's the guy that heals people. And you have the woman with the issue of blood, right? She cannot interact with her community. She feels completely alone. Doctors have not been able to help her at all. And eventually she just loses it and she's like, I just have to touch him. If I can just touch him, I can be healed. She touches the hem of his garment and he pauses. He stops. Hold up just a second. Somebody touched me. Rabbi, there's a lot of people touching her. No. This is different. He could have kept walking, but he paused. He paused at this moment of faith for this woman. and said, "You're healed," and rejoiced with her. I think of Zacchaeus, a short dude among short people. I can relate. And we have this man that just wants to look at Jesus, just wants to just see him walking by. So he climbs up a small tree and just watches him walk by. And Jesus pauses and says, "Zacchaeus, I'm going to eat with you tonight." And a little bit later, he says to Zacchaeus, "Salvation has come to this house." Because he paused, because he was present, because he was there. I think of one of the analogies, right? You have the man who was attacked between Jericho and Jerusalem, and he was beat up, and you have the priest, and you have it's the Pharisee, the priest, and they all walk by, and they're doing the correct thing, because they're going up to Jerusalem, they're going to worship, and if they touch a man who's all bloodied and beat up, they become unclean, they can't worship God. They did the right thing, but it was the man that was willing to get dirty, to help him, to clean his wounds, to take him to the inn, to allow him to be taken care of, that did what was right in God's eyes. He was present. And how often do we walk by our moments, because we're thinking about the past, because we're worried about the future, because we're consumed by the tyranny of the now, to not be present right now with who we're with. Being present. Being present. And being present also means we're prioritizing our yeses. We're prioritizing the role no one else can play over the role anyone can play. There's no other husband for my wife. That's my role. None of y'all can feel that. I've said yes to that. So I have to say no to other things that I know other people can do. I will be the only biological father for my children. That is my role. Y'all can't feel that. That is my duty, to interact in that way. I've said yes to that, so I can say no to these other things. And being present in those roles, being present in those relationships, being present with those interactions. Being present. In 2005, on October 30th, there was a pastor in Waco, Texas. And October 30th, he gave his sermon and didn't know that was going to be his last one. And it was a baptismal service, so he preached it, and then he got in the baptismal pool, and he went to reach for a microphone, and some crazy freak way, there was enough electricity going through the mic that he was electrocuted and passed away in front of 800 people. Horrid. Horrible. But this is basically the ending of his sermon. Live, and live well. Breathe, and breathe in. Breathe deeply. Be present. Do not be past. Do not be future. Be now. On a crystal clear, breezy 70-degree day, roll down the windows and feel the wind against your skin. Feel the warmth of the sun. If you run, then allow those first few breaths on a cold autumn day to freeze your lungs. And do not just be alarmed, be alive. Get knee deep in a novel and lose track of time. If you bike, pedal hard. And if you crash, then crash well. Feel the satisfaction of a job well done, a paper well written, a project thoroughly completed, a play well performed. If you must wipe the snot from your 3-year-old's nose, don't be grossed out if the Kleenex didn't catch it all, because soon he'll be wiping his own. If you've recently experienced loss, then grieve, and grieve well. At the table with friends and family, laugh. If you're eating and laughing at the same time, then you might as well laugh so hard you puke. And if you eat, then smell. The aromas are not impediments in your day. steak on the grill, coffee beans freshly ground, cookies in the oven. And taste every ounce of flavor, taste every ounce of friendship, taste every ounce of life, because it most definitely is a gift. That was his last sermon. Guys, let's be present. Let's be present. Let's be here and now. Let's deal with any pain and brokenness and hurt from our past. Yes, let's be conscious of the future, and we have responsibilities and things we got to get taken care of, and be organized and do all the right things to make sure our lives continue in a well-structured, mannered way. But let's be present. Because who knows when this is the last time we get to do this? Who knows when it's the last time when we get to experience that hug, when it is to experience playing that song, when it is to experience singing, when it is to experience interacting, when it is to experience that laughter, that joy, those moments. Those moments. Let's be present. Let's be present. And let's be present in our interactions with our God. Let's reflect. Let's remember. Let's connect with the creator of everything. Micah 6:8 in the Message says this. But he's already made it plain how to live. What to do. What God is looking for in men and women. It's quite simple. Do what is fair and just to your neighbor. Be compassionate and loyal in your love. And don't take yourself too seriously. Take God seriously. Let's be present. Let's be here and now. Let's give ourselves the gift of pause. Let's be present and connect with the creator of everything. Let's pause and be intentional. As we receive the gift of his presence, let's be present with others, those around us. Let us pause and be attentive to the people around us. Let's connect and be present and give the gift of pause and presence to our loved ones and to our friends. Let's be present. We're going to sing a song here. And as we sing this song, let's be present in that. Let's reflect. Let's genuinely try to connect with each other through music, like singing this together. Not just reading the words and singing the song, like even if, again, nothing about that in the past, but just let's be intentional right now. Let's be intentional. Let's think about these words. Let's hear the music. Let's experience even just this building, hearing doors opening and closing, hearing the air conditioning going right now. The sound of the guitar, the drums being played, the bass, the singing together, all these things. Let's experience that. Let's be in the present. So let's stand. And I'm going to ask two things. One, if you've never received the Lord as your Jesus as your Lord and Savior, if you've never accepted him in your heart, I'd like to give you the opportunity to do that right now. If you've never been deeply connected with the creator of everything, and you're like, you know what? I want to go deeper with God, and I want to learn to be deeper with other people. If that's you, I'm going to give you an opportunity here in a second. But also, if you've given your heart to Christ and you realize, I need to learn to be present better, I'm going to be raising my hand, FYI. I'm telegraphing that for you because I need to be present. This sermon wasn't for y'all as much as it was for me. You just get it like you're the byproduct. Good job. This is for me too. I need this. I need to be present. I need to be present and be in every moment. So whether you've already accepted Christ, you've never before, but you need to be deeper and you want that, just raise your hand right now. God, you see our hands. And Lord, whether we've started serving you before or we've never served you before, we're asking you right now to be the Lord of our hearts, to help us to be present in every moment, to give everything to you, to trust you, but to be present in everything we do, in our interactions with others and God, with our interaction with you. And God, as we sing the song, as we hear the music, as we look at these words and these screens with motion backgrounds, God, help us to be present. Help us to be here. God, we pray this in your holy name, Jesus.